Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Melanie, your She Shed Scrapper. So today I am back with a 2-page layout, a Disney layout, using one of the Say Cheese at the Park collections from Simple Stories. I am going to be documenting the parade, and so I have a bunch of photos for this layout. I think I have one 4x6 photo, and then I think I have 8 maybe 3x4 photos. So lots of photos on this layout. And obviously, when you have a bunch of photos, you kind of want them to be printed smaller, I guess. I am very thankful for the printer that I have now, because before I bought the printer, I always did 4x6 because I always bought them from Shutterfly. So it's very nice to be able to print them smaller. And get more on a page and not make more pages because I have more photos. So I'll link the printer I have down below. I've been pretty happy with it. It's a Canon. I think I've bought it a couple years ago at this point. So I will link it down below if you guys are in the market for one. Anyways, back to the layout. I am going to do a black border on 3 of the sides, and that is because I am going to have a piece of paper go all the way across the bottom. I guess I could have done all 4 sides. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. But this is how I'm going to line up my photos. So kind of like a grid layout for a 2-page layout. On a previous layout, kind of made my own Mickey template. I didn't want to say stencil because it's not a stencil, but template. And so I'm going to be using that white template on the right hand side and cutting that out in black. But I just wanted to get a good idea where I guess it was going to go, so I knew what size to cut my paper on the bottom. So to bring in lots of colors, because I have lots of colors in my photos, I am using this star paper. I then decided to bring in a scalloped kind of border. And so I'm going to add this red paper here, not those large scallops. Again, that was a different layout, but I'm going just to use my scallop punch here and cut out 2 strips. I think I cut them an inch wide, if I remember correctly. I'm not going to make you watch me do both. And although I know that I need to line up my papers with kind of the cutting guide on my punch, I still struggle sometimes. I sometimes get it over not enough, I think, and so then there's a gap in between my punching, which has been fine. I figured it out, and it looks flawless when I figure it out, but it is a little bit frustrating that I still can't figure out my punch perfectly. It has not stopped me from trying to use it, and I think maybe I would be better if it wasn't the scallop one. I think it's the scallop one that gives me problems all of the time, but it is what it is, and I'm still going to attempt to use it. So once I have that kind of taped down, I realize I don't love those 2 patterns kind of back to back. Next to each other. So I cut, I think, just a 1/4 inch of this blue paper to kind of place over top of that seam. And I like that separation a lot better. Once I get that, I am going to end up bringing that blue in to mat my 4x6 photo too. So, I just like bringing in the same color in multiple areas. And so that is one way that I'm going to bring that blue in somewhere else. So here's that little template. And what I actually used is one of the 4x6, 6x8 paper pads from Simple Stories. Had half a Mickey head, I guess, on the paper. But I had used that paper for a die. And so part of it had like a tree cut out of it, I think. And so I ended up kind of using that and then kind of filling in the rest of it so that I had a good template. I wish I would have done this a lot sooner. I think this is a great way to kind of bring in Mickey in a subtle way, I guess you could say, even though it's quite large. But I like kind of bringing in those Mickeys, and I'm glad I thought about this template because I still have not finished our trip from December of 23. And I have a trip from April of last year and a trip from November of last year to document still. So that template should get some use. I know that one of the 12 by 12 papers from one of the newer Say Cheese at the Park collections has a larger Mickey and Minnie. So you could definitely cut that out, trace it, and have even a larger template as well. So just kind of a tip. I'm glad that I ended up doing that because it is going to come in very handy. So for my 4x6 photo, I'm actually matting it 3 times. I do white, and then I bring in that blue, and then I'm going to bring in black as well. I just felt like that side of the paper needed some black. I do have the black border around the white background, but I wanted it somewhere else, and so I brought it in as a matte for my photo. And instead of adding the foam tape to the back side of the black mat, I actually did the backside of the blue mat. And so it just kind of, I don't know, it really makes that photo pop. So I'm really happy with how that worked. I did go ahead and tape down all of my photos directly, I guess the rest of the photos directly on the page. There were just too many to mat. And by leaving a white space in between all of them, I feel like it helps them kind of pop out on their own. So I didn't feel like matting them was necessary. Now, if the background would have been a pattern paper, I do feel like matting them would have helped them stand out more. But as is, I think it's okay. So I did go ahead and cut out my Mickey head, and I did distress the edges because I am not a good freehand cutter. And so Mickey is a little distressed. The way that I have it set up, it hangs down below that bottom for 2x3, 3x4 photo. I don't know, that bottom photo, it hangs out, and I didn't like how you could see it below the photo. And so I found this large piece of chipboard that I am going to be using over there and covering that up. It's kind of like the amusement park chipboard. I thought I had it out here already, but apparently I didn't. Instead, I was working on my title. So Magic Memories is my title. Moments. I can't even read. Magic Moments is my title. That is the foam sticker sheet, and I did actually pop that up on foam tape too. So probably not necessary because it was the foam sticker already, but I wanted it to stand out from that busy pattern paper a little bit more. So there's that chipboard piece I'm going to use on the right hand side of the page. I liked how it was kind of a large piece but long. It filled in that space nicely, covered up what I needed it to cover up, and just I thought looked cute over there. I then found a piece of ephemera that said dreams do come true, I think, and it's kind of like a sign, and I thought that was really cute, so I'm going to tuck that behind the amusement park there. I am going to commit to all of this. I think I'm going to keep that little arrow as well. I can't read what it says from here. Oh my goodness, how sad is that? But it's pointing in. When I use arrows, I really like them to point into my photos. I want my photos to remain the focal point of my layouts. I don't want the extras of my layouts to be the focal point all the time. And so I think that's why I tend to have more simple layouts, because I do want my photos to be the focal point. And then, so adding the arrows so that they point into my photos just kind of helps draw your attention into the photos even more. So I actually, in a layout, I did, a week or so ago, I actually changed the position of my photos so that a piece of ephemera with an arrow pointed towards them. So that's kind of how important it is to me, to actually change the layout, change the position of my photos for a piece of ephemera. But I just want my photos to stand out a little bit. So now just kind of the finishing touches for the layout. I can't ever remember what those things are called. I don't know. Are they geodes? Somebody tell me, please. I can't remember what they're called, but I had a couple of them and decided to add one to each of those clusters. I think I am actually going to go back and change it, but I do keep the location of each of them the same. The problem I was running into with the placement of like that amusement park chipboard was that I had a large white space, I guess, because that was a landscape photo, not portrait. And so I did want to kind of bring in some phrase stickers. And so I needed to kind of find some of those. I did add one, I believe. It looks like, I think there's a bunch of characters, and I thought that was just so appropriate for the parade because there were a bunch of characters. And then, I skip all over, but I feel like I skip all over while I'm scrapbooking too. So as I was going through the ephemera, I was looking at like all of the little buildings and thought it would be cute to add buildings to the bottom. But then when I pulled out the sticker sheet, there was a kind of a main street already put together for me. And so I decided to add that to the bottom pattern paper there. I did put that up on foam tape as well, just to give more dimension to the layout. And then I went back now to those phrase stickers I was talking about and added a few there. I just still did not love kind of the open space, which I need to be better at. White space is okay. So I have a couple of the phrase stickers to the right, but then decided to bring in another small cluster to the middle of the photos on page 1. I have a mini canvas flare from Scrap and Happy Studio, a camera, and I think it says magic. And so I decided to add that and then add a phrase sticker there as well. And then here's where I decide to change, I guess we'll call them geodes, and you guys can correct me if that is wrong. But I decided to focus on stars instead of hearts. And I know this is weird, but I don't tend to intermix them. If I'm going to add hearts to clusters, the hearts are going to be all over. And if I'm going to add stars, then the stars are going to be all over. But I don't think I usually add both of them to clusters at the same time. So I found some stars and decided that I was going to go that route instead of the hearts. So I changed the geode even and took some hearts off the page and added the stars. And that's how, my mind works, I guess. So I do have like the epoxy stars. I think it's actually Bella Boulevard, but they work color-wise with this collection perfectly. So I did use a bunch of those. And then I got these chipboard stars, shapes, I guess I'll call them, because there's more than just stars, but from my friend Scrappy Jenny K when we were at She Loves Color. And so I decided to add those as well because they were teeny tiny. And I just like having different sizes of shapes in my clusters as well. So that is kind of why I changed everything so I could add other things to my clusters. I did add just a small little cluster to the middle of the photos on page 2 because I found a phrase sticker that said parade, and I wanted to include that because I don't know that I have other parade photos really to document besides the Christmas parade, and that one might end up being created with Christmas papers, so we will see. So kind of why I just added another clusters, because I wanted to use up that parade sticker. But I will link the Sage Cheese collections down below if you are interested. I hope you guys enjoyed this 2-page layout, and we will see you next time. Bye guys.